Hi folks, here's a demo program on how to create an Android project that has a simple button. You'll see there's a demo program in my website, and we could choose to copy and paste this code, which maybe we will. But maybe we'll just use Eclipse to generate the minimal necessary code itself. So here goes things with Eclipse, and I go to File, New Project, and I have to pick Android Application Project. There we are. And let's just name this Button Demo. Okay, the package name, I'm just going to use their default com.example.buttondemo, but it would be good style to have Minic in there instead of example, or maybe your first and last name to make sure it's unique. Whatever the default theme is here in the API level, I'm just going to take the standard settings there and click Next, 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 and Next, and Finish. Okay, the main activity. Eventually, we're going to break away from naming everything main activity. Maybe you'll have like level 1, level 2. Because this is really, you can think of an activity roughly as like a form was in VB. It's a little bit more than just a form, but think of it that way. It's like a screen. Anyway, I click, I'm going to keep the name main activity. And notice that the layout name is activity underscore main. I could change that at this time also, but I'm not. Okay, so I click Finish, and here it is over here on my left. I have this button demo project. They've already opened me up to the source code. Wow, nice. It already put me in the activity main XML. What you see is what you get view and main activity. Now, I don't have a button yet. It didn't know that I wanted a button in this project. I'm going to kickstart my emulator a while, because it always takes long, for an emulator to come up. So I'm going to run the program. Hopefully a suitable emulator will pop up here in a few minutes, and we'll see nothing right now. I think it says hello world. By default, if we dug around in here, I think we'll see in the strings XML file that hello world might be the default piece of text that's in here. Okay, while we wait for that, let's just put that over here on ice here in the corner so I don't forget about it. What do we have by default in a current version of Eclipse Android Application Wizard object program? Well, we have a menu, which we haven't learned the menus yet. So guess what? I'm not going to be using that menu onCreate options menu method. But the onCreate method is very, very important. In fact, you should know that for a future quiz. Folks in the room here, let's just zoom in on that. Okay, so I need to create a button, and presently the content that is in my app, or at least this activity, is coming from activity main the layout file, which is already open here, but you could find it under resources, under layouts, and I could have double-clicked this entry. Okay, I will cheat. I will drag and drop a button. I shouldn't do that, but I will. Because notice, if you do look at the code of the XML, there is no button here. You know what? I'm not dragging and dropping. I'm resisting that easy way out. I am going to Minix lecture notes. And I'm going to go to a spot in the lecture notes where the XML for a button is typed out nicely by Mr. Minic. Look, right there. Yeah, right here, duh. Objective number 3, use a button. I'm going to copy and paste this XML. Copy. Slide over Eclipse into the activity main XML. Do I want my button below the free text view that they gave me, kind of like a label in VB? Do I want my button to be above or below? Well, that's a style choice. What do you say, Goldberg? I'll do that later, but do I want the button above or below? Below would be probably standard. So thanks for that answer. So I'm just going to paste in here. Now, be careful. When you paste from a web page, the formatting goes to where. So let's just, I'll deal with this later off the video. So the idea is when this button gets clicked, some piece of computed text or number shows up in this text view right here. Oh, I hate this also. Look at this little symbol here. That's the closing tag for the text view XML tag. That should, let's back this one up so it's consistent with the one that we had before. Opening, closing. Everything else looks good. And let's put a different piece of text in here, like submit. Oh, this is horrible style. You should not put string literals in double quotes in for text values in your XML. To make it more professional and more upgradable in case you want to produce a Japanese version of this. So I should create a new ID. So let's do that. A new string. Let's go down to strings XML, and let's double click strings XML, and let's come in here and right below all the other strings, let's just do this. String name equals button caption. Let's use the underscore to stay consistent with the naming scheme here instead of the camel case, capital C. And let's just say click here. So by saying click here in English, by the way, now button caption, I have to save that XML file, that strings XML file. Now I can come over here to my activity main and type button caption. But you have to do the @ plus ID /, and now I have to say button underscore caption. Yes, I know. There you go. So that is that now is complete. I'm going to do a fresh save there of that file. Now it's better style. You would have lost the point if you didn't do something like that. If you have hardwired text properties in your double quotes in any XML file, I will find it and take a point off. Okay, that's all the work we had to do there. So should I see that button if I click here on my graphical layout? Let's see. Let's zoom in. Shout out to Dylan. He just noticed that I should not have used the + ID there for that text. That had to be @string to make this work correctly. It's only the name property or the ID property that should start with @ plus ID. Strings like this, like you see up here, and somebody else in the class named MG wants me to change Hello World there to something like cool program, cool app. That's what's going to show up now by default in the text view, which actually doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm just going to put, oh no, that was the name of the, I'm sorry, that was not hardwired. I need to undo that. Hello World is the name of this string XML, which doesn't really make sense anymore. So I'm going to call that initial text view hint. That's what shows up in the background by default of that text view. Or I'll just call it text view 1 and put nothing in there. Or like 00, something like that. For now, we'll just put 00 there. What time of day it is. Okay, the rest of this, app name. Let's keep that button demo. Do a fresh save there on my strings. Come over here to this. It's no longer named Hello World. Does anybody remember what I named it a second ago? Was it text view 1? Yes, it was text view 1. Because we might end up putting more text views in here. So if I do a fresh save, that squiggly underline should go away, and it did. Often the squigglies don't go away until you save something. Okay, we're ready to go. Over here in the graphical view, we do have a button, and we do have a text view, but they're on top of each other. Oh man, they're on top of each other. Let's go look at our emulator and see how that's doing to see if they're actually on top of each other in the emulator when I run this app. I can't find my emulator right now. So here's the problem that we see. When I run the project as of now, the text view is behind the button, and they're on top of each other. And that's confirmed by looking at the what you see is what you get WYSIWYG view here of this graphical layout. So I guess you might think that you could drag and drop and just drag something to the, say, to the right. Darn it. Eclipse allows you to get away with that. It shouldn't. Because really, we should have went to the activity main XML to have dragged that. Let's look to see what code updated there with that subtle drag. Do you see the change now? Well, I do. I think it's all this code right here was just put into place, which has to do with this margin left. We did not put that from my lecture notes. I did not copy and paste all of those XML attributes, layout height, layout below, layout margin left. Some of these are new. I don't like this dragging action because now I don't have as full control over my layout, which I guess I do if I really understood all these. Where would you go to learn these XML, the existence of these XML optional attributes? Okay, for now in this view, I'll let you get away with this. Just dragging and dragging this button around here, it does produce in the corresponding XML view some extra attributes to be thrown in here. Now let's go make this program actually do something. Right now it's just a pretty face, and we want to put a brain behind it. So let's go to our logic here in main activity.java. Okay, well, I don't have an on-click listener. So let's go to my lecture notes and learn what we have to copy and paste next. To use a button, this of course was the minimal XML that I copied and pasted. I now scroll down and realize that somewhere in here, Minic gives you the code. Oh yeah, right here. But first you need these imports. So piece at a time, I copy and paste these 3 imports, which maybe Eclipse would have told us we needed anyway, but we should know our stuff. Oh, it's squiggly underlined. I'm not sure why, but for now we'll just blow through that. Next, we will copy and paste this code right here. And we want to put that in the onCreate method. OnCreate. So copy, and you always get an onCreate method. In every new Android project, you have an onCreate. I'm going to move this curly brace down because that's where I like to put it, and the same for this curly brace. Rather than go change my Eclipse preferences, I'm just going to change those manually. And below these 2 lines of code, of course, is where you paste the code that we just copied from the lecture notes. Okay, let's clean up the squiggly underlines at this time. Although I am worried now, this is still, oh, Minic forgot his semicolon. That guy should have typed up better lecture notes. Let it be known that it's your responsibility to add semicolons after import statements. C++ does not have you put semicolons after some of its includes, so I guess that's what he was thinking when he typed his lecture notes from memory.
I like the third person.
Yeah, that guy Minic, wherever he is, should have fixed that. Moving on. Text view, why is that squiggly underlined? Oh, we have not imported the text view class up at the top. Yeah, we haven't. Text view isn't up here. So by holding my mouse over this, it says, do you want the quick fix that's available? Only half the time do you want to use Eclipse's quick fixes because sometimes they're plain wrong. But in this case, it's just as easy to click that. And look what it did up here. It added text view right in here. Okay, I got rid of all my squiggly underlines. This should work. And right now, if you follow me with this code, it should say hello world when I click on the button. Let's just trace it real quickly. When this project runs, when the app executes, the onCreate method executes. And it just calls setup stuff that might have been saved from the last time we ran the program. We don't learn until like Unit 10 how to save high scores or other values to the shared or private area of the phone's memory. So for now, this line of code isn't really doing anything interesting, but it should be there. And this is very important. This is what tells the Java code to use the activity main as its interface. This line of code is very important. Now the stuff that we created here. I declared a button and instantiated it and linked it up with a corresponding button that's over here in my XML. This button here that we already put in there. So now those 2 get along. Button 1 is mapped to button 1, if you will. I could have used a different word there, but I just used the same for consistency. The text view, I just called it message, but over here it's called text view 1. I guess I should be consistent. In this demo program, since you're beginners, I'll just kind of be consistent, even though it doesn't have to be this way. And what I used over in the XML as an ID, I'll use as a Java variable name. Now, of course, we're going to have to fix something later down here, right here where we had message. I'll make that text view. And be careful, if you're using a capital V in view, like I do sometimes I don't. You have to be consistent because this is very case sensitive. Okay, now, this is something you never saw in the prerequisite course at this school district called AP Java. We didn't do stuff like this, and it wasn't on the AP exam, but now we have to know it. Look at this. See that left parenthesis? The matching parenthesis there is down here. So in other words, all of this is a parameter. That's a parameter to the set on-click listener method, which apparently is in the button class. Look it up in the Android API. So it's fashionable to do it this way. It's fashionable to, as a parameter, this is an anonymous listener object. It's anonymous because we didn't give it a name. We studied anonymous objects last year. And this is just the way it's always done, and please keep the indentation like this because it makes it easy to read. So within that parameter, we are instantiating an anonymous on-click listener object. We're calling the default constructor from the on-click listener class, and this is something we haven't studied either. I'm throwing in an extra set of curly braces on top of that instantiation, so I'm defining a method that can be called on the fly anytime this guy gets instantiated. And this is just the efficient way that industry does this. So in this on-the-fly method that I named onClick, that I'm actually overriding from one of the onClick listener class, I believe, I'm overriding this, so don't spell this a different way. It's got to be onClick with a capital C. The view. What is the view? It's not a TV show. It's the screen. It's the screen that they're looking at. It's this up here, activity main. It's the view that we've already established. We are passing that view in as a parameter to this click method so that hello world goes to this app. I guess theoretically it'd be possible to make hello world show up on somebody else's phone. Or like a guy that sits at computer number 15 could have his program run on some other emulator in this room. Like that kind of weird stuff can happen. You probably shouldn't go around doing that. It would mess with people's minds. But so right now we're just using this V as the view. Okay, so the bottom line is there's a set text method in the text view class, and whatever's in here is hardwired to show up when I click. So let's run the program one more time. I'm going to give a click to that button, and I should see the words hello world pop up in the text view when I click the button. Okay, here goes, drum roll. The button's now over here because I dragged it over there. Ready? I click, and it does do hello world. So there you have it, folks. Here is an Android app that has a button with a text view, and when the button is clicked, some piece of text is hardwired to show up in the text view. You could delete the onCreate options menu that the application wizard gave us when we created this app. We're not taking advantage of the options menu in this project. We haven't learned about that yet in this course. So I deleted that code. You might want to, because we have lots of curly braces, you might want to say things like end of onCreate. This down here is end of main activity. Stay focused with your curly braces because this can be messy. And the next step would be possibly to do something interesting other than just hardwiring this with hello world. You could compute some numbers and do things like that.